So I wanted to hop on here and talk about what I think is going to happen in the rest of the NFL regular season, how that'll unfold, and then once we get the seeding, how I think the playoffs will play out. I'm using this website right now called playoffstatus.com. I've been using this site for 10 to 15 years for NHL, NBA, MLB, and NFL. It's really helpful figuring out mathematically what percent chance each team has to make the playoffs or each team has to get whatever seed. So, yeah, we're gonna kind of walk through this and talk about what we think happens here. Broncos control their own destiny to the one seed. They just got to win their last two games. They got a freebie at the Chiefs with no Mahomes, no Gardner Minshew. They both tore their ACLs. Um, Poor Mahomes, poor Minshew. Feel bad for those guys, but not gonna lie, I'm pretty happy to see the Chiefs not in the playoffs this year. So they'll win that game, and then Broncos Chargers will likely be for the division. If the Chargers can beat the Texans next week, then Chargers Broncos is to win the AFC West. So that's pretty interesting. I think the Broncos get it done though, and do hold on to the one seed. The Patriots, all they have to do is beat the Jets and the Dolphins, and they get the two. I think that happens. Jaguars are set up pretty nicely to hold on to the AFC South. They just have to beat the Colts, who are pretty banged up. 44-year-old at quarterback, and their defense got shredded. And then they play the Titans at home in week 18. So they got a freebie. So I think that holds. Steelers haven't clinched yet, but as you can see, 98% chance to get the 4 seed. They just need to beat the Browns next week, and then they don't need to worry about anything else. I think they do that. Um, Chargers, I think they drop that game to the Broncos most likely, and I think the Bills win out. So I think the Bills will jump up to the 5. The Chargers will fall down to the 6, and I think the Texans hold on to the 7. There's not much drama in the AFC right now about who's going to make the playoffs. The Colts and the Ravens are the only two teams on the outside looking in right now that aren't mathematically eliminated, but they're pretty much dead. So the only thing I have flipping here is the Chargers and the Bills. So that would make our matchups in Wild Card Weekend Texans at Patriots. We would have the Chargers at the Jaguars. We had that matchup in the playoffs a couple years ago. And then we'd have Bills at Steelers, which was a game that happened in this regular season. So I think it should be a pretty fun playoffs. I like to see the new blood. No Mahomes, no Burrow, no Lamar Jackson. Clears the way for Josh Allen and the Bills here, you would think, but they're going to be sitting in that 5 or 6 seed, and it's tough to win away playoff games. So, but Texans at Patriots, I really like the matchup for the Texans here. Their defense, most people are saying it's the best in the league. I don't disagree. I think they could go into New England and win that game, and I'm going to predict that to happen. I think the Texans get through New England. Chargers at Jaguars. I don't know what to really think about the Chargers. Obviously, their record's great, 11-4. They're a good team, but Jacksonville just seems like they're playing on a really elite level right now. Pretty shocking that they just went into Denver and won very comfortably. They kind of proved to America that they are for real last week, and I think the Jaguars will get through Wild Card Weekend, and Trevor Lawrence moves on. And then we'd have the Bills at the Steelers in the other game. Bills 5 seed, Steelers 4 seed. And I got to take the Bills. I'm really rooting for the Bills, so I'm a little biased here. I love Josh Allen. I love the city of Buffalo. I really want to see that city break through and win a championship. They only have one other professional sports team, and it's probably the most miserable, irrelevant franchise possible in the Buffalo Sabres. So I'm really pulling for them in the AFC. And I think they should win that game. They won pretty comfortably in Pittsburgh earlier this year. So I have the Bills, Texans, and Jaguars moving on. And so that would lead us to Broncos hosting the Texans. And I think the Broncos do win at home. Like we said, Texans defense is great. Their offense isn't playing bad either, but I think that home field advantage in Denver, it didn't help them out too much last week against Jacksonville, but I think the Broncos get to the AFC Championship, and I think they do it pretty comfortably. They just got to beat the Chargers in the last game. And then that would give us Bills versus the Jaguars, which is a interesting matchup. I feel like we've never seen those two teams play in the playoffs. So you'd have nice weather in Jacksonville. Where do I land on this? I think the Jags do it. I think the Jags beat the Bills at home. I don't know why, but last week was so impressive, and maybe I'm just being a little too biased based on last week, but I think the Jags are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. And that'd be a hell of a story if they get it done with first year head coach Liam Cohen. Jacksonville's never won a Super Bowl. It would be a fun story as well. As fun as Buffalo would be, Jacksonville would be fun as well. So I've got the Broncos and the Jags in the AFC Championship. And Denver weather is unpredictable. I just lived there for a year and a half. You don't know. Sometimes in January it's like 15 degrees. Sometimes it's like 50. So Jaguars will be hoping for some warmer weather. But odds are they don't get it, I would say. I think I think the Broncos do win two home playoff games and get to the Super Bowl. Chance to win their second in the last 10 years or so. So should be fun. Let me know what you think about these AFC playoff predictions. Definitely check out playoffstatus.com if you're a big sports fan like me. Regardless of NFL or something else, they have all the sports. So it's really helpful when you're trying to figure out what games matter and which ones don't. You don't want to waste your time watching games that are irrelevant to playoff seeding usually. So that's what I use it for. But we'll put the NFC playoff predictions up soon.